Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Butler and I'm the founder of Path9. Path9 is an AI powered intelligent recovery companion. It helps people transform the recovery process from diagnosis with chronic conditions and blood cancer. Yeah, so I was in my local hospital in the UK and I was sitting alone in the hematology outpatient room. I remember that day my wife had the school run to do, so I told her not to worry. Then I had the appointment with the hematologist, and she looked at me in the eye and said, the JAK2 came back negative, but the MPL mutation was positive. That was the first time I ever heard the words essential thrombocythemia and found out that it was a rare blood cancer. I guess in that moment, everything changed. Honestly, it was relief first because she told me that the JAK2 was negative. I thought I was in the clear. But then came the blow: MPL mutation, ET, blood cancer. As you can imagine, my jaw dropped. I think, and I remember the only question I could ask was, what's the risk to my life? And then she wouldn't answer me directly. So I think that uncertainty hit harder than anything. No, I didn't. I couldn't process it. I think if anybody saw me, they would say that I walked out like a ghost. I don't even remember getting into the car. I just remember calling my wife and saying that they told me it's blood cancer, and she burst into tears, as you can guess. Um, all I could say to my wife was, "Don't worry. Look, we'll be home soon, and we can figure it out together." No, not at first, and not in the panic sense. I went into planning mode and I needed structure, I needed information, and I needed to understand what these new terminologies and words meant. So that night I wasn't looking for hope, but I was looking for answers and I was certainly looking for information. So I made a cup of green tea and started researching. Google was the first port of call, forums, journals, articles. I spent hours trying to piece it together. Um, my first searches that day, I think my only searches that day were based on essential thrombocythemia. What is it? And what is the life expectancy? Was the information that I was searching for helpful? I'd say some of it, but it was also a mess. There was a lot of contradictory information, clinical information, and scattered information out there. I was starting to form a picture, but it wasn't complete. And then came my wife. So my wife was doing the same thing. She was doing her research, but she took a different path. She used ChatGPT and she searched the whole picture, not just ET, but she searched the symptoms that I had, which was a clot and varices and so on, and the risk to progression to leukemia. So her results were absolutely terrifying. And when we sat down to compare notes, I had confidence, but she had definitely fear. So the next day, if not the next few days, we spent maybe 6 to 8 hours each day in a rabbit hole, trying to align on our kind of understandings. But we just got more confused. Every article that we then came up with or saw or read was contradictory to the one that we had read previously. We were coming across new terminology, very medical related terminology. Clarity was hard to find. There was no emotional framing around the information we were reading. It was like we needed a translator just to understand the problem. Yes, that's when I realized if we're struggling with this, what about people who didn't have the same resources or the same mindset or even the time? What I needed most wasn't reassurance, it was a map. Something that said, here's what it means, here's where you are, and here's what you need to do next. No, not really. So I started to build one myself. It was just specifically for me. And as I built it, I realized this is what people need. And that is what became the foundation for Path9. So Path9 is an AI powered digital recovery companion for people diagnosed with blood cancer or other chronic diseases. It gives them structure, emotional support, and actionable tools. It's not just medical info. It's not a tracker either, and it's not a chatbot. It really is a companion that helps you find clarity in the chaos after diagnosis. Well, Pat9 is built by someone who's lived it, right? It doesn't just throw information at you, it guides you through 5 pillars of recovery. The first is understanding your medical journey, all of the information that I was trying to find within the first few days. Pat9's first foundation is that medical journey and helping you understand what you have. The second is nutrition. The third is movement. Fourth is the importance of meditation, and then the fifth is going to be dealing with the emotional impact and mindfulness. Path9 is powered by Very. That's an AI ally that doesn't just answer questions, but it actually walks with you through the full journey. Yes, that's right. It's the chatbot is called Very, and it isn't just a chatbot. It's a calm presence. It gives you daily interaction, daily engagement, and answers questions that you have gently. It keeps your journey on track. That's your journey to recovery, and it helps you build confidence again. It's like having a compassionate friend who understands blood cancer end to end, and the compassionate friend is not one bit overwhelmed by it. The hardest part of building Path9 was definitely translating pain into something useful. I obviously had to relive kind of the worst days, that being the diagnosis, the confusion, the fear, and then obviously turning those emotions into features and content and support flows. But it was also very much healing for me, revisiting those early days. It gave all that pain very much a meaningful purpose. Yeah, so my medical status, I would say, is stable. I obviously have um, the mutation and early stage myelofibrosis and ET. And then I obviously have the sub symptoms, which will be, a clot in my portal vein, liver issues, varices, ascites, and more. But I've taken control of what I can control. So I always like to say, control the controllables. And for me, controlling the controllables is my diet. It's managing stress. It's managing the movement that I focus on a daily basis and building a routine. Very much, I would say I'm in a stable condition because I've built a rhythm, and that rhythm has given me momentum. And I manage that every day. I find it very precious, and I try and take care of that momentum. So I've built Path9 to help others do the exact same. I would say to anybody that has been newly diagnosed or is living with this condition and they're in that element of chaos, I would advise them to breathe. That they don't need to figure it all out today. Yes, they do need a plan, but don't go down 50 rabbit holes trying to find that plan. Find something or find someone that gives you clarity and helps you move out of that kind of chaotic situation. And that's what Path9 is here for. Probably not in the way you'd expect. I didn't cry that first day, but there is, and there were quite moments in the car after scans, sitting in the kitchen alone. I remember just thinking to myself, this is too much. And then I'd get up and I'd make a tea and I'd go again because every day I'm focused on protecting the momentum that I have in my recovery journey. So why did I call it Path9? Well, I called it Path9 because it's not just a diagnosis, it's a path to recovery, a journey to recovery. And for me, the number 9 stands for 9 months of that recovery that I went through. And that recovery was focused on the emotional recovery and the practical recovery as well. So Path9 represents completion, clarity, and evolution. It does that through moving people and helping people transition from the chaos of being just diagnosed through to clarity in understanding what they have, through to competence in managing the situation. And then we do that by 3 E's, which are education, empowerment, and enablement. So it's a small name, Path9, but it has a really big meaning. My biggest hope for Path9 is that someone today that maybe is sitting in a hospital car park and that has been newly diagnosed with blood cancer, or someone that's out there and they're looking for a path after living with diagnosis for some time. Well, I hope that they find this and they feel less alone. I hope that it gives them a way forward, and I hope it shortens the fear phase and extends the clarity phase. And that Path9 becomes their guide when everything else just feels like noise. If I could go back and say something to myself, I would say you're going to be okay. Not because it's easy, but because you're going to build something from this. Something that helps you, and one day something that's going to help thousands of more people like you. Yes, so visit www.path9.ai, and from there look for the Path9 app page. In the Path9 app page, you can obviously download the application, but we've got over 200 articles already built into the website. So it helps people from the very early stages of diagnosis right through to the 9 month stage and what that might look like. But it also has a lot of information and support for loved ones of patients and carers of patients as well, how they can cope and how they can deal with that situation too, because it's not just the patient, right? There's also the loved ones and the carers supporting the patients too. So again, yeah, path9.ai is the website.